Tiger teachers, welcome back. Again, this is your PBIS team. Tier 1 helping out with me today. We're going to be doing a few PBIS reminders for that first day of school in March when we come back on the 22nd. My team today, I would like to introduce you to Miss Pierce.
Hello, I'm Allie Pierce. I teach English here at the fantastic Marina High School.
All right, and Miss Palmer.
Hello, Ms. Palmer. I teach the ID students in the Flying Tigers program, and yep.
And I am Sheila Nakarati, and I am one of your associate principals. Today, what we are bringing to you live in our Zoom recording, so be nice, is that we're going to have tools for classroom management during our concurrent instruction. We are going to be entering into a new level of instruction, having both cohort A and B come together on our campus, and we want us to be thinking and thoughtful for how exactly are we doing this when we return. So today we're going to go over a couple of things. This is kind of our agenda of what we're going to have. So we're going to talk about our Marana High School expectations, our classroom expectations that we have, plus our COVID culture coming together, being really explicit with our classroom routines and procedures. And then of course, what are some resources? What do I do when I need help, or some kind of reminders?
All right, so as everybody knows, the year has been very different. So something to consider when we come back is having both your classroom expectations and our COVID mitigation expectations and putting them into one. So what are your expectations for your classroom? As if this were a normal year, making sure that you're pushing those out to students so they're aware, and remembering that also some students have not been on campus the whole year, so it's good as a refresher. Again, our COVID campus expectations, you can read for yourself, but making sure that we're enforcing masks and being respectful of people's opinions with that, but making sure that we are following all of the rules put in place and making sure that everybody's feeling safe.
Alrighty, so explicit classroom expectations and procedures are always important, but especially right now. It definitely feels weird going back into this final quarter and sort of having it almost feel like the beginning of the school year. So we need to make sure we're clear, concise, and consistent. We want to leave no room for question in terms of what we want students to be doing in our classrooms. So it's important that we are making sure that students know what's expected of them. What do we want them to do when they enter and exit our classrooms? What is that going to look like? Things like bathroom procedures. You need to make sure that you personally know what you expect students to do, and that students know what they're expected to do. That the fact that we're back on campus doesn't mean that it is just a free-for-all. And really importantly, distancing and classroom flow are going to be something that you want to keep in mind more so than we have ever before. While we know it's probably not possible for all of our students to consistently always be 6 feet away from each other, making sure that we're aware of what the expectations are for movement throughout our classroom and where and how our students interact with each other is really important. But of course, we'll have students on Zoom too. The first chunk of our class will consist of Zooming and interacting with our in-person students. So where is the overlap with expectations for our Zoom students and for our room students? We want to have all of that in mind as well. So some things that we want to consider. What's your attention getter? What's your signal? Maybe you have something that works mainly focusing on like a visual. Does that still work in this moment in time? I have a handy doorbell, which is loud, and my Zoom students can hear it, and my room students can definitely hear it. Supplies need to not be shared amongst our students. While we think sharing is caring, generally, we don't want to share any germs. So making sure that students know not to, pass around any of their materials, and that if you're providing materials for students, say they forget something, that there's a clear procedure for where they get, a clean pencil versus one that is dirty that will then want to wipe down. And then, of course, so very importantly, no food in class. We want to make sure that students are keeping those masks on, nose to chin, and that even though we all, get those moments where we want our snacks, if a student really truly needs to step out and eat, make sure that it's not happening in the classroom.
What if expectations are not met? So there are definitely some consequences that we have put in place. As you can see on the little chart, a general reminder, once again, a lot of students haven't been on campus for basically a year. So giving them a little bit of slack on that, some general reminders, an individual reminder, like, hey, remember I told you have to keep the mask on, or whatever it may be. Verbal warning, then unfortunately lunch detention, parent phone call, administration office referral. Consequences are taught, posted, and reinforced. So it's very important to make sure that across the board, all the students are being treated the same with all the consequences. And first day of school. So we want to make sure we are modeling and practicing things, even though we've been in this weird setting for so long. Again, some students are new to it and need the refresher, as they always do over break. So making sure we're modeling, showing students how to enter your room, give examples of like, yes, please come in and look for your name on the desk, versus coming in and sitting where you're not supposed to. Explain why to students. Practicing, if students don't enter following your outline procedure, ask them to try again. It may feel elementary, but upfront reinforcement leads to fewer long-term issues. And again, obviously, we all want our students to be set up for success in the beginning.
Alrighty, so we are, as we know, still balancing students in person and online. So we want to make sure that our Roomies and Zoomies are both getting what they need. So things that you want to consider when your students are on Zoom, how are you going to make sure that they know how to get your attention appropriately? Are they going to unmute? Are they going to chat? Are they going to raise their hand on Zoom? Will they unmute and say their name and then wait for a response? Is there a way for students to capture questions or thoughts to ask later? So perhaps you have a procedure where if a student has a question that isn't pressing, it gets captured in the chat, and then you come back to all of those later. Now, for your students that are in the room with you, what are they doing when you're maybe a little more actively engaged with your students on Zoom? Are they raising their hands? Are they calling out? Like, what do they need to do in order to get your attention when you are split between your screen and your room? And then also think about whether or not your students on Zoom can hear your students in the room, and vice versa. Are you going to need to repeat questions, repeat procedures? What are different little quirks that might need to be worked out? Although we've definitely been doing this for a while, we haven't been doing it with large numbers of students in our classroom. So making sure that both of your students in your room and on Zoom understand that you are trying to balance both will hopefully get them to give you a little grace, and then also extending grace to them won't hurt anyone at all. All right, so how are we supporting our students on Zoom? If they get stuck, if they have questions, what are they doing in order to get in touch with you? You may ask that students email you. Maybe they need to tag you in an assignment in a private comment or through Google Classroom. Make sure that your students understand that just because they're not with you that second half of the class, and just because there are more students in the classroom, you're still there to support them. And then make sure that as much as possible, you are then following up on that, right? Now, is it going to be possible to do all the things at once and manage everyone and answer all the questions? No, absolutely not. But making sure that you have some sort of system for going back and checking and offering students information is really important. Now, again, your students in the classroom need to remember that you are indeed helping students on Zoom. So it's important that everyone understand that we're engaging with lots of students in lots of different spaces. So that may mean less walking around and chatting with students and checking in, and a little bit more going back and forth from your email. So just making sure that everyone is aware that we're all equal, even if we're not together at this moment.
Again, it's been nearly a year since we've had this many students in class. So take it slow, build a community, and stay consistent. You got this. Here are some resources that we've kind of put together that will be helpful. Really rely on your colleagues. Reach out to fellow colleagues if you have ideas or an idea to share, if you're needing ideas or have an idea to share. Administrators are there to help as well. If you're struggling, or again, have an idea to share that you want sent out to all staff, make sure you reach out to them and they can help spread the word as well. And also our super awesome TATSIs. Anytime there's a new change, sometimes there are new tech obstacles, and they are the people to get the job done and answer any questions you may have. I'm doing this one as well. Here are some supports that we put together. If you click on any of these links, you will get taken to videos of the various topics here. And also, as we said before, if you have any ideas to share, like, please do that and we will share it with the staff.
Am I doing the closure? I'm doing the closure, guys. See, we're all figuring this out together. All right, so we have a Jamboard for you so that you guys can capture thoughts, questions, concerns, feedback, but also if you have any super fantastic ideas or things that you maybe think would work and want some help with, you can throw them on that Jamboard too. There's a link, but also you can pull out your phone and scan the QR code, and then hopefully beyond just posting, you can snag some great ideas off of there. Look at that. Mrs. Nakarati is pulling it up right now to share her ideas. Well, thank you all so much. We, as your Tier 1 PBIS team, are happy to help. So don't hesitate to reach out, and thanks for hanging out with us today.